Alrighty, so today we are sitting down to do another one-shot review. Today, the movie that I went and saw was The Royal Hotel, which I'm not sure who was in this movie. I'm not sure who made it. I just know that it was produced by Neon, which again, like I'm saying, I think like A24, it's safe to say that many movies that have that Neon stamp are probably going to be good. And on top of that, I think that Australia is 2 for 2 on horror movies this summer. Or not this summer, but this, because now it's definitely fall. This like early, I guess late year sort of cycle. Man. Alright, so first off, the theater, I ended up having to go to the Regal because the AMCs in my area were not even showing this movie whatsoever. And then now that this Taylor Swift crap is out, there is like absolutely no movies to go see. The only movie that I have not seen that's in theaters right now at the AMC is the Mighty Pups movie. And to be honest, I would be willing to go see that, but it just feels like I'm not the audience, and also I don't know any of the lore, and I also don't wish to subject myself to preschool content. And it would be so fucking creepy if I'm like just that random guy in that movie. Specifically, even if I think the name Humdinger is a hilarious villain name. Which is basically my only reason after seeing the trailer a million times that I would want to go see it. That being said, I went to the Regal. The Regal that this is at is like state of the art because it's in one of these like outdoor experience, small sort of situations that cities are setting up now. It's pretty legit. I got, Pepsi Icy, got some popcorn. Honestly, dude, like the butter that they put on the Regal though, like, it is a lot. It's making me, if I'm walking out looking like I went through a whole freaking experience and I'm like half a shade, less put together after going and seeing a movie and eating that popcorn. A little bit worse than the AMC. But that being said, something weird happened today before I even get into the movie. Like, we are in a world where every place you go to buy a movie theater ticket, you get an assigned seat. And when you go in and you pick your seat, you see the layout of the thing and you pick, so you know if you're going to be sitting next to somebody, if the seat next to you is already occupied, if you know that if you go with two people, whether or not you have a seat in between you, you know exactly where you're going to be, and depending on when you got your ticket, you should know if somebody's around you. Me personally, I plan my tickets a little bit early because I like to do everything online, and I kind of, in a way, I sort of plan these things out because I want to be able to spend time with people and stuff like that. So I buy my tickets pretty early. Like, I bought my ticket for this movie at 9:30 p.m. today at like 10 a.m., right? So, that being said, today I walked in and this like 50-something-year-old lady was sitting in my seat. And there was a seat in between her, and then the lady that she came with, which I'm assuming is her daughter, who's also a grown-ass woman, was also, a seat in between, and then she was sitting there. And, like, okay. This is what I was talking about before, where you know that that's my seat, you know it's not empty, you know somebody's sitting there, don't sit there. But you know what? I hadn't looked, and when I bought my ticket this morning, I saw that there were a lot of open seats. I'm not going to make waves, I'm not a Karen or whatever. And some of you may say that by even remotely trying to give up my seat, I have made a mistake. That from the beginning, I should just be like, this is the seat I paid for, this is mine, it's not my fault that you want to sit in a seat, whatever. But I was trying to play it cool. because I've been on this stoicism kick. I'm like flow like water. I don't care. You know, I'll just go find an open seat and sit there, but I'll let her know it's my seat. So I'm like, hey, that's my seat, but you know what? I'm sure there's going to be open seats. I'm just going to find an open one and I'll sit there. Don't worry about it. But if enough people come in, like, I'll have to take my seat. So I say all that. She's basically like acting like I'm a weirdo for pointing out that she's in my seat. And so, whatever. But I was so nice that it's like, dude, you should at least be nice back to me. Like, what the fuck? And so, anyway, the lady's like, yeah, go find another seat, basically. And then she asked her daughter, like, what seat am I supposed to be in? And she's like, the one that you're not in, the one next to it that's open. Because obviously we didn't pick seats with a seat in between. And I picked my seat at 10 a.m. this morning and nobody else was in the row. So whenever she picked her seat, my seat was taken. That information was available to her. But the reason why it became such an issue, and that wasn't the end of it, was that then like I go to sit down in one spot and I pull up my phone and I'm like, oh God, somebody, you know, I'm like, you know what, let me just go ahead and figure out. And I'm looking, I act like I'm gonna buy another ticket to this movie, and look, first of all, the whole back row is filled, including my seat. There's tons more people coming to this movie, and the seat that I'm now sitting in that I thought was open is not open. So now I gotta go find another seat. So I go find another seat in the front because the second row is completely open. And I'm like, damn, actually screw this person, because now I'm sitting in a crap seat, which actually wasn't that bad, to be honest. And there's a lot more people here, so like you're gonna get this extra seat just because I decided to be nice and you were rude to me. Then I checked my phone again once it was like almost time for the movie to start, and a whole group of people had bought out the row I was in, even though before it had been open. So then I was like, shit, dude, it's over. I gotta go get my seat back. So to her credit, when I walked up and I was like, hey, and again, dude, I was like the nicest person ever. I was like, hey, I'm sorry. Turns out, you know, I was just looking online. All these seats are booked up, so there's not really going to be any extra seats, so I got to take my seat. And to her credit, she was just said nothing and was like, all right, bet. And went and sat in her seat. Probably because if I were her, I'd be kind of embarrassed. Especially because she was like, oh, what seat am I even in? Like, not that one. You know what I mean? But anyway, that all aside, I was able to see the movie with no interruptions despite the old guy that was on his phone until him and his wife just decided to leave the movie. And this movie was wild. Again, I know I just went on a tangent. So the movie that we saw today was The Royal Hotel. And when the trailer for this literally says that this movie almost redefines or makes you think about what a thriller movie is, it's absolutely correct. So the setup here is that we've got these two girls who seem to be like college aged, maybe, you know, like seems like we're supposed to care for ourselves, but maybe not like full on adults type age. I felt like they were close to my age, right? And they are on this trip in Australia and they've run out of money. And now that they've run out of money, they got to get a job for the rest of the weeks that they're here so that they can just get by until they can go all the way home to, they said Canada, but at one point in the movie, she's like, oh, Canada? And so maybe not Canada. And we have no idea what is going on where they are from, but they're running from something, and we never figure out what it is, so don't even worry about it. But the job that they are able to secure is as bartenders at this bar that's in a remote location in Australia within a mining community. And this is basically the only place, like people work at this mine. There's all sorts of different people at this mine of all sorts of different backgrounds. But they are like 99% male. And they once they finish their job, everybody comes to the watering hole afterwards and goes to this bar. And the thriller aspect or the drama ensues when the culture of the bar and the culture of the men that work for the mine that attend the bar come at odds with the two females. And there starts to be a lot of tension, like, is there going to be sexual assault? Is there going to be, like, people being violent? Is there going to be, they're not going to get paid? Is there going to be, the whole gamut of things occur in this movie. And that's basically the setup, okay? So because I want everybody to see this movie, I am not going to spoil it, but I'm going to talk about the things that I did like and the things that I didn't like. And at the very end, I'll give a spoiler. And so at that point, you'll know to turn it off if you, and skip through to get to the end. And skip through to get to the score, and then, you'll be good to go. But, what do I like about this movie? So first of all, I like that in this movie, the thrill and the suspense is built up slowly over time. And in the beginning, they almost let you know what it's going to be about. But then there's a shadow of doubt. And there's even more shadow of doubt. And then they crank it up a little bit more and they just about confirm it. And then there's a little bit more shadow of doubt. And the way that they keep you on the line throughout the movie, awesome. They did a great job doing that. And the things that are at risk are legitimately creepy and legitimately seem, reasonable to be fearful of. But then at the same time, they can be easily explained away. And so for that reason, it's like, you want so bad to side with the character that's getting freaked out, but her and her friend play as opposites. Another thing I like in this movie a lot, in a way where they both have almost a different way of dealing with this conflict. One says, like, it's all fake, don't worry about it, everybody's harmless. The other one's like, oh my god, everybody is scary. But both of them are annoying, where when something is legitimately scary, this person is like, oh, well, stop. It's not stop. You're being annoying. Stop. But then this person is like freaking out over everything and will not even let the people that are on her side be on her side. Right? And that was brilliant. I thought that was awesome. Another thing that's great about this movie is that the way that they weave in the shadow of doubt, it's believable enough that as a viewer, you're not just sitting there like, oh, but when's it going to turn? You're like, well, maybe I am wrong. Maybe it isn't going to happen, and that's going to be the part that is interesting about this movie. But let me tell you, shit does hit a climax, and it is very interesting. And another thing I like is that the range of different characters and the range of things going wrong. And then there's almost like a drop of unreliable narrator, because as a viewer, our main character is basically the girl with the blonde hair. Even though it's both of them, it's really her, because we're experiencing everything through the lens of like her fear. And it becomes unreliable at points because she makes decisions that make her seem like kind of annoying, to be honest. And so then while watching, you're almost like, dude, oh my god, like, you can't even let that thing, like, you can't, wow, I'm gonna sound like, if I don't explain what I'm talking about, I'm gonna sound like I'm a psycho. What I meant by you can't let that thing go is like, there was one point in the movie where somebody is legitimately trying to, like, some people are legitimately just trying to be nice to her, and she's like extremely frigid and apprehensive towards them. But then other people absolutely deserve that from her, and they escalated even more, and they're absolutely scary, and they absolutely seem like they're the scum of the earth, human rights violators, sexual assaulter type people. So it's just like perfect. Like, for example, and the guy ends up being kind of a bad dude in the end, to be honest. But they build up this one guy as like one of the nicer people, and she even makes out with him at one point. But then when she gets spooked, she calls up this random dude they met on a boat in the beginning of the movie and has him come to drive them away. But he's like a party slut, and he's just into the party. He'll follow the party wherever it goes, and he's kind of a dumbass. And so, like, for her to literally diss this guy that's been almost nothing but nice to her, I will say that at a point he was being a little bit forceful, and that was absolutely cringe and disgusting. But and then towards the end of the movie, he ends up being a bad guy in a way. So there you go. But she blows this guy up to bring this random dude in who ends up, I don't think this is a spoiler, but he ends up just getting pissed drunk and making out with an old lady and then calling her sour as well. And so it's like, dude, you should have known. Like, this guy, that's one of those moments where it's just like her reasoning is called into question, right? Because it's just like, of course you did that. You had to be a party pooper. But then it's like, people are legitimately really coming at her in a very threatening way. And so I can't blame her for wanting to have somebody that seems safe come through. But, I mean, dude, just talking about this movie, it's like, it was very good. If I were to even try to figure out a thing that I don't like about this movie, because, I really liked a lot of it, sincerely, it would maybe be that there's this thing that's going on right now with a lot of these sort of trending, more artsy type of movies that are going out of their way to be a good movie, if that makes sense. Like Expendables is for the money. We know that. And so they get right into it. Immediately, everything that is plot driven starts. This movie, there's a period where they are off, they figured out where they're going to go to work, and they are, they're getting picked up at the bus station and figuring out where they're going to stay and what there is to do for fun around there and stuff like that. And that portion of the movie almost is like too much setting building when we already understand where they're going and what the vibe is going to be from the trailers and from the lady at the career office that's like telling them like, oh, this is what it's going to be like, da-da-da, So I think a lot of movies are doing this, though, where they do a huge amount of setting building in the front of the movie, and then they just let all the dominoes fall. And as a fan of anime that have all these large build-ups and then these awesome climaxes, I can understand what we're trying to do here with like fully engrossing the audience in the situation. But if I had to say something, while I was watching the movie during that time, I was like, dang, a lot of these movies are doing this, where it's like we spend the first 20 minutes of the movie almost on a farce until we actually get into the mud, So if I was going to say anything, it would be that. Another thing that I really liked about this movie is that it subverts expectations. So going in, you have a clear idea of what you think is going to happen, and they even sort of hint at it, you think, in the trailers, and a lot of what you expect to happen does happen. A lot of the things that seem threatening are threatening, but the way that the climax of the movie takes place and the way that it resolves is almost like filled to the brim with subversion, where, okay, first, like, oh, this guy's actually bad, and he's actually just trying to basically kidnap this girl while she's too drunk. And then, like, on a split second, they're saved by another guy. But then that guy comes in, and he's, like, also a bad dude, right? He's like, well, she was supposed to be mine. And it's just like, dude, what? And then, what I'm absolutely not going to give any hints about, the way that it actually ends is kind of genius. And I kind of fuck with them ending it the way they did. I'm just going to put it that way. And it completely sidesteps the natural conclusion that you felt like was going to happen when you see her with blood on her forehead and stuff in the trailer. Okay? So that was awesome. So I guess having all that been said, I'm sure I'm already past 20 minutes at this point. So I want to wrap it up and just say that this movie was really good, and it subverted my expectations. It was accurately thrilling. It was suspenseful and threatening in ways I did not think it would be. And I could not recommend it enough to everybody. And I guess if I'm plugging it in, I think everybody could go see it in theaters. I think it wouldn't lose any of its fun if you watch it at home. Just like maybe, you know, if you want to go see it in theaters, I would recommend it. If you think you'd be interested in a movie like this and you like watching movies in theaters, just like go see it, because the theaters are awesome and I want to support them. Even if they are big corporations, I just don't want it to go away. And if I'm plugging this in the out of 5 scale, I truly do think, because of the level of subversion in the end of the movie, and like, it's almost like I was like, God, dude, I was literally sitting, there was a point where I was in the theater like, I hope that doesn't happen. And then it didn't, but the fact that it didn't happen, the way it didn't happen, was unexpected, surprising, equally satisfying as an audience member than maybe what could have happened. So, with that being said, I really do think I have to give this one a solid 4. I do. And you know what? To be honest, walking in, I thought it might be a strong 3 to a light 4, just because of based off how I felt like, you know, the hubbub around this movie was. But it really is a solid 4, if not greater. But I don't want to, you know, I don't think it kicks up into anything legendary, you know, because we're going to be watching a lot of movies as a part of this, as far as like, you know, top of the list. But dude, solid 4. I recommend everybody go see it. The Royal Hotel. It was awesome. It was thrilling. It ends in a very surprising way, and it ends abruptly too. And I just really could not recommend it enough to everybody. So with that being said, that is the one-shot movie review. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you feel like it, because the subscriptions make me happy. That's it. Just makes that little serotonin thing go, you know. If you disagree with me at all, or if you just want to leave a comment about the movie, like if you went and saw it as well, please write it in the description below. And if you feel so compelled as to leave a dislike, you have to tell me why in the comments. Otherwise, I won't get your feedback and you'll never switch to a like. So, with that being said, that's the review, The Royal Hotel, solid 4. I will catch you guys on the next video, and I highly recommend this one. See ya.